I don't know if obsessed is that's a bit of a sort of mental health word, isn't it? But I became fascinated by Alan Watts, and I thought he had all the answers really to things that had troubled me ever since I was a teenager. And he explained so much about being alive on this planet, which for me had been a torturous puzzle. Um, and nobody seemed to talk about the things that bothered me. What bothered me? Question mark. Well, I suppose it was that nothing seemed to make any sense. Was what
Yeah.
bothered me. And yet everybody walked around as if it did, and everyone sort of seemed absolutely sure of themselves and what they knew and what they thought. Whereas I just used to think, well, how can you be so sure? And everybody thinks everything different. So what makes you think you're right? And that's always been something that's tormented me. It's like, who gives me the pride with the capital P to say I'm right? So Alan Watts, after I had my breakdown, which was connected in a way with not having a sense of place or a philosophy to fall back on in some ways, because I was a classic product of modernity, I suppose, uprooted, atomistic, pleasure seeking, lost in the moment, not having any particular personal philosophy, not religious, just drifting from one moment to the next and sort of blundering around, really. And I didn't like that feeling. I wanted a feeling of some kind of philosophy that I could believe in, or at least not find ridiculous. And most philosophies I found fairly incoherent, I suppose, and certainly religions. So anyway, on reading Alan Watts, Alan Watts, if I can, it came along at the end of quite a fair list of people who I had been reading to try and get a sense of what was going on in my own mind and in the world.
Who else
I
did you read?
Rollo May.
Uh-huh.
I read The Existential Psychologists,
Mm.
Joseph Campbell, Jung. I was very fascinated. I'm a storyteller. I'm a novelist by trade. So, I'm very interested in stories, and therefore I couldn't help but be fascinated by the Joseph Campbell interpretation of storytelling and the mythic structures that were embedded in all human
Mm.
cultures. And that struck me as fascinating. So Jung and Joseph Campbell, I listened to this TV series called The Power of Myth that was shown on American TV when I was living in America for a few months. Um, um, and that was interviews with Joseph Campbell. Um, and that was terrific. That really excited me. And every now and again, I come across a thinker that really speaks to me. Not that often, and most thinkers I go, I sort of, kind of get it, but I don't really get it. But Alan Watts seemed to tick all the boxes.